Good morning and welcome to our service. I am Kathy LaFortune and I'll be your celebrant this morning. I'm kind of a middle of the life UU. I've been coming here since I started teaching RE in 1994, 1995. I didn't know what a Unitarian was at that point. I'm not sure I know now, but I keep on coming back. I'd like to extend a special welcome to all of those of you who are joining us for the first time. We are very glad that you are here. If you've come in person, you should have received a welcome packet with an information card in it. If you fill it out and drop it in the offering basket, we will be in touch to support you in finding your way into our community. If you're joining us online, there's a link on our website to an electronic version of that same card. Our welcoming committee members have yellow name tags and can answer any questions that you have. Anybody with a yellow name tag in the sanctuary today, raise a hand and give a big wave. Hi, Belinda. Whether you are new or not, please consider staying for coffee and conversation after the service, either downstairs in our fellowship hall or in our Zoom room. And now let's say our words of welcome together. Whether this is your first or your 1,000th Sunday with us, and whether you strolled, rolled, Zoomed, ran, or danced in, we are glad you chose to join us. We are one people of many beliefs, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders. All are welcome here. Now we will take a moment to say hello across the technical divide. First, we're going to show the people joining us on Zoom. If you are at home, please turn on your camera. And now people at home, wave. I always love that part. Now people who are attending the service in our building, it's your turn to wave. We do have a couple of short announcements. We have an announcement from Sam. You want to do that, Elizabeth?
Oh, well, I'd be happy to if I knew what he wanted to announce.
Okay.
And Dave Nelson isn't here either, and he wanted...
He is here.
Oh, there's Dave. Okay. All right, Dave, come on forward.
All right. Thank you. I'm here to announce the Ren Fair signups are up. We're doing our annual Ren Fair food booth. We've got about half the signups filled. But we'd encourage you to come and please sign up, especially if you want to make food. We're a bit short on people making black beans and tortilla soup right now, and we also need help on setting up and tearing down the booth. We're a little shy there. But please sign up. We're doing setup on May 3rd. We're in the Ren Fair the 4th and 5th, and tearing down on the afternoon of the 5th.
Thank you, David. We have reserved the left side of the sanctuary in front of the sound booth for people who need the folks around them to wear masks. And we have masks available at both entrances if you need one, or you are more than welcome to sit in another part of the room. And that's the end of the announcements. Oh wait, Ryan's got one? Go ahead.
Hi. So just in case you missed the email that came out Thursday, I wanted to announce in person to everybody that I've decided to resign my position here at the church. My last day will be the very end of June, so it's not going to be right away, but I wanted to let you all know. I'm not moving away. I'm still going to be very much a part of this church, just no longer an employee. Oh, thanks, Rodney. So, after the end of June, I'm going to take those next 6 months and do my best not to get on any committees or any volunteer positions, because the goal is to spend those 6 months pouring all my energy into building myself a writing career. This has been something I've dreamed of doing my entire life, but it's only become possible really due to the support and encouragement that I've received from all of you. So I guess if you want to keep your next employee, don't be so supportive. Actually, I will still need all the support that I can get because I find myself in this weird position of moving from a part-time church job to something that's even less financially secure. And I have to debate whether this is a leap of faith or a leap of insanity, and I figure you don't know till you hit the ground. But thank you all so much for having given me this opportunity. It's just been the most wonderful job. I get to help people every day. I get to work with just the best people there are, a wonderful supervisor, amazing coworkers. Just everything about this job is phenomenal. And I'm sad to see it go just as much as I'm excited to start my next chapter. So thank you all again. This has just been wonderful, and I look forward to still being part of this community and doing more good work with all of you in the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan. Are there any more announcements? Okay, we will go ahead and move on. I'd like to preface the service today with acknowledging our church was built on the ancestral homelands of the Nimipu, called the Nez Perce by the French-speaking traders, the Palouse, and the Stitsamush, called the Coeur d'Alene. Let us pause and remember that we live on ground that is sacred, ground that was stolen, ground that cries out for justice and responsible stewardship. May our remembering help us find the courage to do our part to restore wholeness to the earth and all of her peoples. Do we have a cellist later today? Yes, we do. Okay. I don't have a script for the chalice lighting. Do you?
Oh, sure. We're hoping that folks joining us via Zoom have a chalice or a candle to light and something to light it with. We're going to all light our chalices together.
And who is our chalice lighter today?
Oh my gosh, you put me on the spot and
I'm
I'm drawing
sorry.
a blank. Emmeline. I'm so sorry, Emmeline. I have this thing with names. Emmeline.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth.
Emmeline Brown. Did the candle go out? Yeah. Oh no. Technical difficulties. Hold on just a second, sweetie. Let's put a new one in. Okay, we'll try this one. There we go. All right. Gotta confess, sometimes I think it would be easier if we just used old-fashioned matches. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share. Please rise and join in our sung affirmation. From all that dwell below the skies, please be seated. Good morning, everyone. I am the Reverend Dr. Elizabeth Stevens, and I am lucky enough to serve this congregation as its minister. Our worship theme this month is interdependence. And the worship committee has decided that this is a big enough theme, we're actually going to use it for 2 months. In a culture that reveres rugged individualism, valuing interdependence becomes a revolutionary act. We acknowledge that no one exists in a vacuum. There's no such thing as a self-made man or woman, which means we owe one another not just respect and kindness, but gratitude and generosity. gratitude in those moments that we need others, and generosity in the moments when we have something to give. Today's service looks at how to live into interdependence politically. The partisan divide has so damaged our democracy, it's almost unrecognizable to me. We can only hope that it's not also unsalvageable. Enter our special guests this morning, Kathy LaFortune and Shelley McGuire. Kathy is a Democratic county commissioner. Shelley is a Republican precinct captain. And they are best friends who have shown up for one another and loved their way through good times and bad for decades. In this society where people on both sides of the divide are demonized and dehumanized, cross-party relationships can be tough to maintain. Yet I'd argue that investing in those relationships might be the best way to save our democracy. Somehow, people of goodwill, both Republican and Democrat, need to find ways to work together to restore an ethic of collaboration, compromise, and commitment to the common good to our lawmaking bodies. So, let's begin our service today by singing together hymn number 1023 in the Teal Hymnal, Building Bridges. This is a fairly simple tune. We're going to come back to it multiple times during the service. So I'm going to take some time to teach it, and then I'll invite you to rise and we'll sing it together. But stay seated for now while I teach you the song. Building bridges between our divisions. Can you sing that back to me? Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions. With all of our voices and all of our visions. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. All right, I invite you to rise and let's sing it all together now. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. That was great. Are you feeling brave enough to do it as a round? All right, we're going to divide you right down the middle, and I'll cue you. Let's do it one more time. Building bridges between our divisions. Building bridges between our divisions. I'll reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our visions and all of our visions. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? All of our voices and all of our visions. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Thank you.
Now let's take a moment to engage in the practice of generosity together. For those of you able to make a financial contribution, the logistics are on your screen. We typically give away all of our cash from our Sunday services to local charity whose missions align with our values, a program called the Month of Sundays. This month, the recipients are our area food banks who make sure that all of our neighbors have enough to eat. To donate, please indicate Month of Sundays on your check or from the online drop-down menu. In the spirit of love and for the continuing work of this church, we will now take some time to practice generosity together.
And now I invite Rodney Fry forward to lead us through the sharing of joys and sorrows.
Good morning. I'm Rodney. Honored to serve you as a member of our pastoral ministry team. Now is the time in our service when we lift up our joys and sorrows. The sharing of joys and sorrows is a sacred ritual in our community, a time to briefly acknowledge truly significant events in our lives, either by sharing them in advance, typing them in the chat, or coming forward and sharing them here in person. So go back, sit back, get comfortable, take a few deep breaths, and check in with your heart. Sorrow comes into every life. Each of us suffers losses and setbacks. Each of us struggles. Each of us sometimes knows defeat. Together we create a circle of compassion wide enough to hold all the sorrow in our heart, all the pain in our lives. If you have a sorrow to share, I invite you to come forward now and form a line. Please keep it to a sentence or two.
I wanted to light a candle for Ginger Yoder. She's back on the injured reserve list because of some complications from surgery. So please hold her in your thoughts, and if she reaches out to you, please tell her to rest.
Joy, too, comes into every life. Hearts are made to love. This world and the people in it are unbearably beautiful. Together, we create a circle of celebration, deep enough to hold all the joy in our lives. If you have a joy to share, I invite you to come forward now and form a line. Please keep it to a sentence or two. Every life, every heart, every one of us at any moment is filled with joys and sorrows, with hopes and dreams and concerns. I'll light this final candle for all that which is in our hearts, too tender for us to share now. Life, however fragile, is a gift, and we in this community of memory, caring, and hope celebrate this gift today and all days. Amen and blessed be.
I invite you now to settle even a bit more into a time of silent meditation. I'll lead us into that time with a piece called Outside, Inside by my colleague and friend, the Reverend Laura Bogle. Outside, the flags fly down the highway, hanging on to the back of large trucks or the chest of a man. Outside, there's grabbing and taking, a staking and restaking of territory claimed. The borders between us are made visible in noise, colors, ballots, signs, and signals. Inside resides the breath of common ancestors, the child who plays with no thought of malice, the heart tuned towards suffering, the taste of figs ripening in the lingering autumn heat, the sliver of an orange moon low in the evening November sky. Inside begins something you might call a prayer. Let us kneel down, not to God or nation or ideology, but to what is inside, a feeling, a connection, a welling like the waters at the very beginning of time, unpolluted and gently flowing, sweet and dark and healing. Let us kneel down to the persistent possibility that the life and love within prevail. Let us release what is inside, outward in beauty, spilling toward each other until all merges. Unstoppable well of knowing that we will only ever be saved by one another. Let's rest in the silence together. Amen and blessed be.
Hey, good morning. We'd like to do a Kate Wolf song. Kate Wolf was a beloved singer-songwriter in her lifetime. And so when Sam contacted me to do this particular song, I didn't know exactly get the connection. But after I found out what today's sermon theme was, I started to get it. So, before I do, I'd like to introduce our guest violinist, Debbie Carlson,
I'm a fiddler.
and fiddler. And of course, everybody knows Susan Urban. And I'm Marcus Smith.
I've been walking in my sleep, counting troubles instead of counting sheep. Where the years went, I can't say. I just turned around, they've gone away. I've been sifting through the layers of dusty books and faded papers. They tell a story I used to know, but it was one that happened so long ago. It's gone away in yesterday. Now I find myself on the mountainside, where the rivers change direction across the great divide. Now I heard owl calling softly as the night was falling, with a question, and I replied, but now he's gone across the borderline. He's gone away in yesterday. Now I find myself on the mountainside, where the rivers change direction across the great divide. The finest flower I have seen is the one that comes between the edge of night and the break of day. It's when the darkness rolls away. It's gone away in yesterday. Now I find myself on the mountainside, where the rain's direction it's gone in yesterday. Now I find myself on the mountainside, where the rivers change direction across the great divide.
Thank you so much for that song. I asked for that one specifically for today because so much of our relationship has happened to the break of day.
Yeah.
in reality. Story. How did we become friends to begin with? And she reminded me just, it's all kind of a blur, that time frame of my life. Young children at home, I was married to a guy that was clinging to all the passions of his 20s, but still trying to manage his 40-year-old life with 2 kids and community involvement and a full-time job. I was working half-time, working full-time, but getting paid for half so that I could be available for school. But I believe the first place I actually met Shelley McGuire was here at the UU Church. And I'd like her to have a chance to, you know my story. I started off by teaching RE. I didn't know what a Unitarian was, what they did, what they believed, but I knew that I wanted my kid to come to church. This seemed like a good one, so I started teaching RE because she wouldn't stay in class unless I was there. So
and I were doing PhDs and then postdocs at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. And like so many UUs, we had our first kid and went, we can't go back to what we were doing before. And we found the UU church there and joined in 1992. We became Unitarians. We moved to Moscow in 1995, joined this church immediately, and I think I met you in the first few weeks.
Yeah.
So
we definitely met here first. Probably I was teaching RE, and
probably we have kids the
and
same
Emily,
age. So.
Emily was in my class. I don't recall that, which is really fun. At the same time, so as time went on, both of our kids became school activities. Shelley's kids were in a different elementary school than mine. We were both gymnastics parents, and
We were good gymnastics parents.
that means they just did everything together. We were both women. We were both from the Midwest, and we kind of had that Puritan work ethic thing down.
Kind of.
And need something done? Ask the busiest person in the room, and it'll get done. So we went to a lot of gymnastics meets together. We were the only family that carpooled, so the only family that we were so busy having fun on the sidelines that we didn't keep score.
Never knew our kids' scores, ever. Can I tell the story about
Oh, okay, go ahead.
the sex survey?
Okay,
The
go ahead.
kids are gone, right? So, yeah, I'll never forget this. I didn't know you very well, but Kathy came up to me at gymnastics while our kids were out doing stuff and we were not keeping score. And she said, I know I don't know you very well, but can I ask you, we're both Midwesterners, and I thought, okay, I really like you because let's talk about that. And we were taught to never talk about religion or weather, and certainly not that conversation. She was doing a survey.
Anderson's wife, Tina, was out running one morning really early, and we found her on the road, and she said, can I run with you guys in the morning? And we picked her up, and she's still one of our running partners. Jim got sick. For those of you who know my late husband, Jim got sick, and Jim died, and still we ran. He died on a Friday morning, and we ran on Tuesday, Thursday mornings, so I don't think
you
we
missed 2 or 3 runs. That was it, the whole time.
And I think they were just when I was in San Francisco for treatment.
Yep, we didn't miss.
Shelley became a precinct chair. I decided to run for office, and still we ran.
I was your treasurer.
Yep, I asked Shelley to
I
be my
didn't do any work, but
campaign treasurer, and she said yes. Even though I don't think it's...
I got in trouble from
Yeah, it
for
didn't
that.
sit real well with your...
I don't care.
That's all right. So my mom died, and since it was on a Thursday morning really early, we didn't run, but they did bring me really good coffee and breakfast that morning.
Bacon. We
And
brought bacon.
Yep. I left an abusive husband and set out on my own again, and still we ran. I now have grown children, a dog, a slew of friends, and a very sweet man in my life. And still, whenever we can, well,
Our knees aren't so good.
Our knees aren't so good anymore, so we're doing a little more hiking than we are running, but we still get out there any chance we get. We still talk about anything and everything. We don't always agree.
No?
We
I don't
sometimes-
even know what I think sometimes,
We
so.
sometimes hurt each other's feelings, but we make amends and we make up. We have so many common values. Maybe Shelley will enumerate on this because she's better at expressing them.
I will just say, I agree with you more than I agree with a lot of the Republicans. Doesn't matter. Just
And
doesn't
what
matter.
are some of those shared values?
Oh,
Separation of church and state,
oh,
for
separation
one.
of church and state, kindness, taxes actually help people. The importance of a government, but a small government, fiscal conservative, well, we're both fiscal conservatives.
conservatives,
Absolutely. LGBTQ rights, 100%. We have some different disagreements on some other things, but they're minor.
Yeah,
They're
very,
minor.
very minor.
They're minor.
And
I'm still still a Reagan Republican. I don't know how that works.
And so, I think we definitely talk about politics, and I know that I definitely went through some shock and awe, in the 2016 election. And I do remember the first run after that, and I remember the road that we were running on. I remember that it was very dark, and I remember just saying, okay, so tell me about this, tell me why. And I did. I listened, we ran, and I didn't agree with Shelley at the end of it. I still would have voted differently. I did vote differently. But at the same time, I had respect for where she was coming from. I think the other thing that we have in common is that neither one of us have been straight party ticket voters ever in our life. We look at and research the candidates and then decide how to
And we
vote
don't
for them. And we
assume, I
talk
think it's
about
important,
that.
yeah. We don't assume anything.
No.
We don't assume just because you have an R or a D after your name that you believe anything.
So
Because it's complex.
So I've been talking with Jean a lot this week about this topic of why, because we became friends in the 1990s. It wasn't like, the political climate wasn't like this then. There wasn't such a great divide. And I think one of the differences is that partisan politics at this point in the game politics is no longer about getting work done. Like me as your Latah County Commissioner, I'm not concerned that much with what's happening at the national level. I'm more worried about how am I going to give everybody that works for Latah County a cost of living increase this year when I'm bound by a 3% budget increase at the state level. Those are the kinds of, I'm getting business done and getting work done.
That's what we talk about.
And that's what we talk about. We talk about leadership, we talk about.
We actually never talk about politics.
No, never. Not really
Actually, we don't.
partisan
Not
politics. Yeah.
partisan politics. We talk about issues, and that's what matters.
It is. It is. So yeah, we have so many common values, and we also have different ones. But Shelley's one of my longest reigning friends, and I love her, and that's what matters.
And I will say, I mean, we've had some conversations. We have 1 minute left? I haven't seen the thingy. But, in full transparency, I left this church because I didn't feel comfortable here. I feel pretty good today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I was actually, a few months ago, I was at a Republican meeting across the street at the 1912 Center, looking out the window like, oh, I longingly miss that church. And I told Kathy I think like the next day, I'm like, I really miss the UU church. So then this happened, so maybe this is meant to be. I'm now calling myself a Lutheritarian.
So I'm going to bring up one little example from our run, if I have time, that I think it's a metaphor, because I love talking in metaphors, so bear with me here. But we both have been doing a lot of hiking on a route called Balsam Route up on Moscow Mountain, and there's this great little Stonehenge kind of structure with 3 stones set up, and of course we had to go up there during the solstice to see if the light came through it just right. It didn't really.
It didn't.
It didn't. But Shelley is convinced that those stones have gotten there by some ancient civilization that has placed them just so for a certain purpose of light coming through at a certain time.
Yes.
I also believe with all of my heart that those got there naturally from the Idaho batholith, with the geology involved and the erosion of the basalt around it.
You might be right.
And
you
you know
might
what?
be wrong.
She might be right, I might be right. It doesn't matter because we both think that it's just a magical spot and it's beautiful. And that
Yeah.
kind of sums up our relationship. Thank you.
We're going to sing again. Let's have this side start this time through. Building bridges between our divisions. Building bridges between our divisions. I'll reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions. Whence we could make such sweet harmony. When Shelley left this congregation, Kathy went to the Committee on Ministry to talk about it. And one of the members of that committee told her, "The Republicans get all the other churches. Can't we have this one to ourselves?" And technically, the answer is yes. As a congregation, you could choose to be a political monoculture. However, if you were to do so, you'd be violating our core principles. And if you were to do so, I would need to resign because it would be a violation of my core principles. It's not enough to be a haven for liberals. Our faith calls us to be a haven for anyone who walks through our doors. This needs to be a place where all are welcome in truth. We're a community committed first and foremost to radical hospitality. Now, to be clear, we are also a community committed to the promotion of human rights, including LGBTQIA+ rights. We are committed to protecting the freedom of thought and inquiry, and so opposed to limiting access to information in our schools or our libraries. We're committed to bodily autonomy and freedom of choice, whatever our personal opinions about abortion. We're committed to responsible environmental stewardship. Now, these commitments are not easy to honor given the current state of affairs, but it is possible. And it's possible no matter what letter comes after your name on the ballot. We have proof sitting in front of us right now. There was a letter to the editor a couple of days ago that applied the metaphor of choosing teams to the open primary ballot initiative. Basically, would you want the other side choosing your team members? I think this points at exactly what's wrong with our nation right now. We shouldn't be thinking about political teams with winners and losers. We're meant to have a representative democracy with individuals chosen by their constituents and in communication with those constituents, who then attempt to discern together what policies and laws will serve the greater good. Healthy governing requires conversation and compromise, and the humility to acknowledge that no one person, never mind one party, has the right perspective. Democracy functions best when people bring multiple points of view and then negotiate differences of opinions to arrive at the best fit for a diverse populace. Now, our system is broken at the moment. I think all three of us would agree with that. And while Kathy and Shelley are trying, it's not easy to fix the system from within the party architecture. However, there's another stance that I think all of us can take that at least pushes in the right direction. And that is building bridges and individual relationships that span the divide. Kathy and Shelley have told us how it works for them. They've given us a model for how to do this. As we have the capacity, as we're able to do so safely, engaging this work is doing our part to repair what is so broken. More than that, I think the lessons that we've learned as we practice connecting across theological difference can inform our capacity to reach across political difference. We Unitarian Universalists, we know that acceptance of other people's perspective doesn't mean we have to agree with them. We don't need to be in lockstep to be in relationship. We know how to prioritize relationship over being right. And though it's important to be clear about our values, it's not actually our job to convince people to change their point of view. That's true when it comes to both spirituality and politics. The culture that wants to force us to take sides also wants to erase complexity and nuance, forcing each of us into boxes. We shouldn't assume just because someone has an R or a D after their name on the ballot that we know exactly who they are and what they believe. Every individual political calculus is complicated and unique. We Unitarian Universalists, we know how to embrace complexity and nuance when it comes to a whole host of other issues. So can we do that when it comes to politics as well? Relational work, the work of loving our way to wholeness, is honestly kind of inefficient. That was a joke. It's more effective, it's easier to motivate people with fear and tribalism. But the work of love is inexorable. It is slow, it is tender, it takes a lot of patience and self-awareness, it takes generosity of spirit. These are all things that we cultivate in this congregation, so in a way, we're uniquely suited to bridging the partisan divide one relationship at a time. This is part of the work of creating the beloved community, capital B, capital C, which is the reason this beloved community, small b, small c, exists in the first place. And you know what? I actually know the end of the story. I know how it all turns out. I don't know how, and I don't know when. But with every fiber of my being, I believe that the day will come when somehow we figure out how to live in peace with one another, in harmony with the natural world. In the end, love will win. And love has no teams. So be it, and so may it be. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit. Let's sing together number 1021, Lean on Me. That's a weird recording. I think they took out a couple beats there. Anyway, I do have a closing reading for us, so if you want to be seated for that. It's actually an excerpt from The Hill We Climb, which was the inaugural poem in 2021 by Amanda Gorman. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put aside our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy, and we change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left with. Let's sing together, "There is a Love." Shelley, would you mind extinguishing our chalice? There's a little thingy there that you just pop on top. Please join me in the words to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this chalice that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light our paths as we leave this place. May it guide our way until we are together again. You know what? I don't know what I'm doing. It is hard being human, and it is hard being active and involved. It's hard paying attention. It's hard to know what to do, what's right, what's wrong, what will help, what will hurt. But I know this. I know that if I trust that love inside me, if I turn again and again and I ask myself, what is the most loving thing I can do in this particular moment? Loving toward myself, loving toward others. I know that that's the path that I want to be on. And I'm so grateful to be on it with all of you. Go in peace. Come back next Sunday.